elected one. This time, your blow is so great that its tremor has reached the darkest rooms behind the walls. You unmask the senator they thought most protected, most untouchable. You uncovered the dark ties that were hidden from the eyes, not even visible in the files. The system protected him for years, protected his plans behind the scenes, but you, with your divine intuition, broke that chain. Now all eyes are on you. Secret meetings were disrupted. Panic broke out in safe rooms. Write 555 in the comments now, because you didn't just see the truth, you called it out. And now everyone knows you are the walking proof of a secret that cannot be silenced. You walk into a room like a bell that's already ringing. Conversations tilt, and everybody suddenly remembers a promise they forgot to keep. Because the change you spark can't be tucked back under polite small talk. Timing wasn't luck, it was cosmic choreography. A bright flare of 555 on Destiny's dashboard telling the universe to open every locked gate so your medicine could reach the heart that was quietly bleeding out behind a polished smile. What looked like someone acting strange was the real self climbing out of storage. Your presence peeled back stage makeup, showing the unedited soul that had been begging for daylight. Long after your footsteps faded, the echo stayed, rearranging furniture in minds you have not seen for months. Your energetic autograph still shimmers on doorknobs you once touched. They whisper because you shattered a dam with a single lantern. Suddenly, the river of possibility flooded every denial, and the very thought of that much freedom makes gatekeepers lose sleep. So they paint you in monster colors. Anything to keep from admitting you held up a mirror that exposed their own dusty corners. Accusations balloon the moment truth becomes too heavy to dodge. When boundaries rose like fresh fences, blame rained like arrows, yet each arrow only proved how fiercely the old script needed a scapegoat to survive. Smoke screens of rumor roll in, but smoke never outlasts sunrise. Once the haze lifts, the deed still stands. Healing happened, and no legend can unwrite it. Depression didn't start with your arrival. You just flipped the circuit breaker so the shadows in the attic could no longer pretend to be furniture. In that exposed light, cardboard smiles wilted, and laughter pre-recorded for peace treaties quit working. Real breath began stretching its lungs. Comfort had been stitched to sorrow so neatly that nobody noticed the seams until your spotlight showed the thread. Now they despise the glare that freed them from velvet shackles. Your frequency operates like an elevator that rises the moment anyone steps inside. Pupils dilate, voices steady, dormant strands of purpose wake up, and the whole floor notices. Like a sunrise slipping through an old barn's wooden slats. No matter how tightly the planks were nailed, that first ray still finds a way to paint the entire room gold. Your touch slides past every polite barrier straight to where real pain hides, baptizing hidden scars in light that dinner table talk could never reach. People don't usually discuss fractured souls between bowls of mashed potatoes and gravy. They pass the salt, not the story of how shame kept them up 3 nights running. They brag on grandkids, not on the private wars fought behind bathroom mirrors. Yet the moment you walk in, casual conversation starts to feel like wearing a winter coat in August. It just doesn't fit the temperature any longer. Something in you adjusts the climate. It's as if the air decides it has permission to be honest, and facades lose their Velcro grip. Nobody planned to mention that heartbreak from '97, but suddenly the words escape and tears cross the table before anyone can hide them under a napkin. That's because pain speaks a dialect, gritty, raw, unedited, that everyday English can't quite pronounce. You know that language by heart. You didn't learn it in seminary or Sunday school. Heaven wrote it on your bones. So while others smooth over cracks with small talk, you send kindness like liquid gold into those cracks, sealing what would otherwise stay fractured. It's the reason phrases you say in passing end up journaling themselves in someone's memory. They replay your sentence on repeat driving home, realizing hours later that a simple "you were never meant to carry that alone" felt like a key turning in a padlock they forgot was chained to their ankle. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. Don't underestimate how foreign this feels to folks tuned to business as usual. We live in a world where feelings have dress codes, and you showed up in holy blue jeans. There's no polite way to rearrange a soul's furniture, yet that's exactly what happens. Wounds will not wait for the dessert course to announce themselves. They rise, clear their throats, and testify once your presence sets the courtroom in order. And the verdict always carries weight. Somebody gets lighter, somebody meets truth for the first time, somebody's midnight gets scheduled for dawn. I know what some might say, you stir up mess. Yes, but only the mess that was already spoiling in the cellar. You're not bringing termites, you're shining a flashlight on the ones chewing the beams. The polite thing would be to compliment the wallpaper and ignore the mold. Yet love is never merely polite, it's powerful. Love flips tables in temples when money changes cheapens sacred ground. That same force flips lies off the dining room conversation when denial tries to sell cheap peace. Think back to every miracle story the good book records. Nobody healed by Jesus walked away, apologizing for the public commotion. The blind man didn't whisper his first word. He shouted, "I can see." The lame man didn't tiptoe through crowds. He leapt. Transformation is disruptive by design. You carry that same disruptive mercy. It invades whispers of, "I'm fine, thanks," until the real answer surfaces and a soul confesses, "I've been bleeding inside for years." If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. And here's the divine irony. Folks may resent the glare at first, but later they find themselves craving that same light. Because once a heart tastes genuine freedom, counterfeit quiet feels suffocating. You will hear stories months later, stories about how a woman who could never say no finally resigned from a job that drained her spirit, how a man who nursed resentment for decades picked up the phone and forgave his brother, how an addict stared at your words on a sticky note and walked into rehab. They'll say, "I don't know why, but after our talk, I just couldn't stay the same." That's the echo of kingdom resonance vibrating long after you exit stage left. Now let's get practical for every weary traveler over 49 who thinks change is past its prime. A good gospel farmer plants in any season. You might think your soil is too trampled, too old, or too rocky. yet heaven grows vineyards in desert places. Age doesn't disqualify purpose, it deepens roots. Moses started leading at 80. Sarah laughed at 90 and birthed promise. Stop using calendars as cages. If you woke up breathing, you woke up eligible. Here's how the process unfolds in real life, step by step. Interruption. You show up at the car wash, the office, the family barbecue, and conversation starts normal but takes a left turn toward depth. That's the Spirit's cue card on the wind. Revelation. A sentence slips out, simple, unassuming, yet it lands like a shovel hitting hidden treasure. Eyes widen, silence falls. Somebody's spirit whispers, "That's it." Confrontation. The listener's comfort zone stiffens. Defenses rise, or tears do. This feels messy. Resist the urge to sanitize the moment. Let truth finish its surgery. Integration. Hours, days, sometimes weeks pass, and the seed you dropped germinates. It pushes through stale soil, cracking up old asphalt of denial. Growth hurts before it helps. Amplification. That person now shifts circles, echoing their newfound authenticity. They confront stale patterns, set fresh boundaries, and unknowingly carry your spark into rooms you may never enter. You might wonder why you sense turbulence afterward, why some folks avoid eye contact or gossip behind your back. Truth is clarifying, but rarely cozy. When you unplug a lamp that kept shadows hidden, some would rather smash the bulb than face what scurries out. Bless them anyway. Their resistance is a graduation certificate stamped, "Mission accomplished." Keep speaking healing's language. Keep bypassing small talk when eternity knocks. Some rooms will open like sunflowers to that light. Others will shut blinds tight. Your job isn't to pry windows, only to shine. Even a faint beam under a doorframe is enough for hope to slip through. And remember, healing words once released don't expire. They orbit, returning in dreams, sermons, songs on the radio, billboards on the highway, until the listener finally receives. That boomerang effect isn't accident. It's kingdom technology ensuring no declaration of freedom comes back void. Shoulders will square, eyes will brighten. Whole families will alter their narrative because one relative refused polite denial and spoke life right into the marrow. Generations will rise and call you blessed, even if present company calls you disruptive today. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. Think of a gentle candle set in a clay jar, small flame, big darkness, yet the moment the jar sits in a room, shadows scoot back to the corners and folks can suddenly see where they're walking. That's you, lightbearer. So stride into that family get-together with holy confidence humming in your chest. Slide into the seat beside Cousin Jimmy. Pass the butter like you own the blessing. Laugh at Uncle Ray's story, even though you've heard it since the Reagan years, and keep your spirit tuned for heaven's quiet nudge. When that tap hits your heart, no thunder, just a soft inner tug, share the line God lays on your tongue. It may be a single sentence wrapped in kindness, or a short prayer delivered right over the sweet tea. Drop it like seed on soil. Somebody might clear their throat, An aunt might raise an eyebrow. A nephew may pretend he didn't hear. No worries. Seed doesn't beg for applause. It settles under the surface and gets busy. Later, maybe months, maybe a decade, the clutter of life clears out, and that very person will trace their first step toward freedom, back to your simple act of courage. They'll remember the smell of roast beef, the scrape of chairs, your steady smile, and the moment you loved them more than you loved table manners. That instant will feel awkward in recollection, yet beautiful in impact, because truth spoken in love never rusts, never fades, never misses its assignment. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Picture it like this. You're planting an orchard with invisible trees. Today, you sink a pit in the ground and cover it up. Tomorrow, you go about your business. Years down the line, grandchildren will swing from branches you put there by faith. They may never know who sowed the grove, but heaven records every apple. So don't shy away when the Spirit whispers. Smile, serve, speak when prompted. Let everyone else worry about keeping the peace. You focus on releasing purpose. Eventually they'll see those words grew into shelter, shade, and sweet fruit in the heat of their toughest summer. And it all started because you chose obedience over etiquette, destiny over discomfort, light over polite silence. That's why distance can't mute your influence, and goodbyes can't close the book. Your words sink deeper than geography, anchor harder than time, and sprout harvests long after last year's map is outdated. Keep planting. Heaven's granary operates on eternal supply, and you, chosen healer, are licensed to give it away. Your name drops into a conversation, like a spark in dry grass. Suddenly the whole room catches, and everybody realizes this is more than small talk. It's a draft notice for a battle. Most folks pretend isn't raging. Recruiters from realms unseen are tapping shoulders. Sign up for armor that prayer can't dent and strategies not listed in any search engine. They're handing out spiritual fire drills, backdoor briefings, and coded maps to territory the ordinary eye can't chart, urging every willing heart to gear up, because complacency is the real casualty. 555 flares across dashboards, the universe's flashing banner that says tear down mode engaged. Like a wrecking ball made of stardust, it smashes outdated contracts, friendships built on dust, identities stitched from fear, trophies that impress no one above, so blueprints for genuine freedom can finally unfold. Your arrival hit like sunrise on night shift. Alarms blared inside a soul that had overslept its own destiny. What looked random to bystanders was cosmic synchronicity clicking right on schedule. A clock tower striking 12 in a realm where seconds run on purpose, not chance. Imagine a lighthouse planted between two mighty seas, one tide rolling out, the other roaring in, its beams sweeping both horizons at once, guiding sailors from what was into what will be. Picture a grand old oak caught between seasons, half its branches dressed in fresh spring green, the rest still clutching dry autumn leaves. That tree stands right on the property line of past and future, and the storm rolling through refuses to let it stay half-changed. Some branches groan to grow, reaching for new sky. Others creak, begging for one more day of familiar shade. Friend, that oak mirrors our own hearts when God starts stirring the soil. Part of us is ready for the fresh bloom of destiny, new dreams, new callings, new freedom. Another part wants to hang tight to yesterday's comfort, to the routines that felt safe when the winds were calm. But the Spirit doesn't plant us in neutral ground. Heaven's forecast calls for holy turbulence, and the breeze of change is non-negotiable. You may feel the pull right now, one foot in promise, the other stuck in memories. It's all right to admit the split. Even saints feel the stretch between comfort and calling. Yet notice what happens when that storm rolls over the oak. The stronger limbs, those anchored deep, welcome the rain and stand taller. The brittle leaves finally loosen, making room for sap to flow and buds to burst. God's doing the same with you. He's shaking loose yesterday's clinging doubts, pruning habits that can't survive the blessing ahead. That creaking you hear, it's not destruction, it's divine chiropractic, lining your spine with courage. Those new shoots of faith will bear fruit you haven't seen before, peace that settles low in your chest, ideas that sparkle like morning dew, relationships rooted in truth instead of convenience. So lean with the wind, chosen one. Let yesterday's dry leaves fall without apology. Lift those green branches high and greet the storm as heaven's gardener. Once the clouds pass, you'll stand fuller, stronger, and entirely outfitted for the season that's been calling your name all along. Inside that awakening soul, the very same tension blazes. Spirit keeps tugging forward, hungry for wider fields and higher air, while ego clings to soft pillows and lullabies that once soothed but now stifle. You can almost hear the argument, destiny pounding on the front door, nostalgia deadbolting it from the inside. Name-brand critics still try repainting you as the villain, flinging every tired rumor like leftover paint at a fresh canvas. Yet each accusation fades the moment lived truth steps into sunlight. Because authenticity carries its own floodlight, no batteries required. When gossip ramps up the volume, kindness answers like a choir, overpowering solo slander with harmony too sweet to ignore. And look around. Evidence of your resonance pops up everywhere like undismissible notifications. Songs on the radio, whispering your last encouragement. Billboards echoing advice you gave in passing. Strangers repeating phrases you spoke months ago. No ad blocker can mute the algorithm of heaven. Once the message is in the system, it retargets hearts until the upgrade installs. Friends try to act casual, but you can see the shift. They cross their arms when your name surfaces, then uncross because that feels defensive. Eyes flick away, then back. Drawn by gravity, they don't admit. They scroll past your photo, but can't resist scrolling back. The spiritual software update has begun. Denial can stall the progress bar, but it can't cancel the download. Understand, this internal civil war isn't chaos, it's construction. Old frameworks crack, so new wiring can run. That can feel like demolition day, dust everywhere, memories boxed in the driveway. But the master builder never tears down without blueprints spread across the table. Think of the caterpillar. It doesn't strap on wings over lunch break. It dissolves into holy soup before transformation. That messy interim, cells swimming, identity unrecognizable, is where destiny does its deepest sculpting. Spirit whispers, we're becoming, while ego whimpers, we're dissolving, not realizing those are the same event from different angles. So what can you do? Keep shining. You weren't sent to argue with rumors. You were commissioned to outlive them. A lighthouse doesn't shout at fog. It just keeps the bulb burning until ships see for themselves. Live so undeniable that critics must choose between adjusting their story or covering their eyes. Offer gentle words where others sling stones. Pray seed prayers, short, faith-soaked sentences that root in hidden soil. Celebrate tiny wins you spot in those battling inside storms you once survived. Remember, applause is nice, but assignment is better. You didn't step into their life for accolades. You stepped in for awakening. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. And to every weary soul, over 49 thinking change, pass them by. Let me tell you, Moses clocked in at 80. Sarah hit her laughter stride at 90. Caleb asked for the mountain at 85. If you're breathing, you're employable in God's calendar. Age adds seasoning to the sermon. Here's a roadmap for shepherding someone through this turbulence. Stay rooted in peace. Turmoil may swirl, but deep peace anchors like bedrock. Breathe slow, answer soft, and let storms exhaust themselves against your calm. Speak identity, not history. Remind them who they're called to be, not what they've been through. You are beloved, bold, capable. These are renovation words. Model boundaries. Show that love does not equal limitless access. Healthy walls teach watchers that value protects itself. Pray in the gap. When conversation closes, intercession sneaks through vents. Walls can block phone calls, not heavenly petitions. Celebrate micro-victories. A single honest sentence is progress. A day without self-sabotage is cause for confetti. All the while, remember, your job is ignition, not steering. You light the pilot flame, the Spirit adjusts the thermostat. If they try to crown you savior, point them higher. If they accuse you of sorcery, shrug and keep sowing truth. The harvest will testify soon enough. Look again at that oak after the storm. Withered leaves finally fell, clearing space for stronger buds. Branches once divided now align towards sunlight. The tree didn't lose, it leaned into new life. Same with the soul under renovation. Pillows tossed, lullabies hushed, but destiny now has room to stretch. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. So walk on, illumination bearer. Let whispers swirl and labels peel. Every rumor recycled about you is just free advertising for grace. The civil war raging inside that heart is proof construction crews are on site. Keep your light steady and trust the builder. When the dust settles, the housewarming party will be worth every hammer swing on the path. Watch their shoulders when someone mentions you. See the breath hitch, the glance shift, the story veer off course. Bodies can't fake comfort when the heart remembers a frequency that still rattles the hinges of its cage, heating the metal until expansion becomes inevitable. From day one, silent wardens monitored this bond, worried that your presence might pry open locks they'd sworn to keep shut. They refresh feeds, eavesdrop on phone calls, and whisper strategic concerns, all to keep freedom from crossing the threshold again. Meanwhile, your intercession operates like a fortress made of psalms and intuition. Words you release behave like tuning forks, shaking parasites loose from people who never learned to guard their own gates. Michael's blade stays unsheathed, and renewal drips like oil over every exposed wound. Cosmic Justice wrote the syllabus: loss as tutor, pain as hammer, awakening as diploma. The ache they feel isn't punishment, It's spiritual physical therapy, stretching muscles unused for lifetimes, coaxing range of motion that comfort could never grant. Transformation doesn't hit reverse. Your imprint lives in muscle memory and soul circuitry. Healing packets unpack on autopilot, line by sacred line. No matter how loudly denial bangs on the door, cutting you off only proved the scissors dull. Chaos kept humming, and pain kept pulsing. Your influence moved from the front porch to the wiring in the walls, flipping breaker switches they didn't know existed. They tried on your courage like a borrowed jacket and found it wouldn't fasten. Growth demands custom tailoring, not imitation, and the pattern must be cut from their own fabric. Because you're a catalyst, not a comfort zone, every handshake becomes a jailbreak. Falsehood Wi-Fi drops when your signal enters, leaving only truth strong enough to stream. So tongues will keep wagging, rumors keep breeding, and fear keeps sweating. Yet nothing halts the mission. 555 keeps blinking, a cosmic update in progress, and the download bar fills whether critics cheer or curse.